Hello chaps, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, should we go there, shall we? Oh, go on then, okay. I don't normally do videos about this stuff and it's not really, subject matter that particularly interests me. I don't have a massive vested interest. I kind of quite like some Johnny Depp movies, but I'm not some massive fanboy. Amber Heard was in actually a Bret Easton Ellis film, The Informers I think it was. I remember her being in that some years ago. Beyond that, don't really know a lot about her beyond what I have read and heard regarding this current case and their marriage before that. So what does all of this mean? Now, first thing to say, obviously, legal disclaimer, the case is ongoing. There is no verdict as yet. I forget how many days in we are, but Amber Heard will take the stand next week, and so doubtless more things will come to light, more evidence will come to light, and it may very much change the picture. And I don't want to. Obviously, I'm not a member of the jury. I'm not privy to all of the evidence, so let's not attempt to predict the outcome or sort of prejudge the outcome unduly. However, I think it's pretty clear if you look at what's emerged up to this point. And this is a personal opinion, and I may still be proven wrong, but I think it's pretty clear. The court of public opinion seems to be very firmly in Johnny Depp's corner now for the most part, and it seems to be with good reason, because what looks to have happened is that Amber Heard wrote that article in 2018 framing herself as a victim. And again, this isn't to take away from the seriousness of victims of DV, domestic violence, and other crimes, but it seems that she wrote this article casting herself as in the role of victim in this saga. In spite of having signed an NDA, having already gone through the divorce with Mr. Depp, and he has taken exception to this, and what has come to light is that actually a lot of her behaviour was far from exemplary. It seems that way in the marriage, and that actually, if you're looking to cast anybody as an abuser, it may well have been more her than him. In fact, actually, it could transpire that the full weight of blame really rests on her as opposed to him. And really, she has cast these terrible aspersions on him and wrecked his career and, earned a load of money from it and everything else. And it could be that her version of events was not accurate in the least, and a lot of damage was done. So in terms of us ordinary folk who are watching from the cheap seats, what does all this mean, and what will the impact of this be? Well, I was on a show where we were talking about this yesterday. I was on the Rule Zero panel, and we talked about this issue, and so I spent a bit of time looking into it. I'd read quite a lot about the case earlier, before it came to trial, and when it came to trial, I was like, yeah, whatever, okay, fine, I've got other things to concentrate on. But I spent some time looking into it, and I've refreshed myself on all of the details and the new details that have emerged. And I think overwhelmingly, it's going to have some effect on guys in the West as far as their dating lives are concerned, particularly as far as cohabitation and marriage is concerned, because you see this, and as somebody pointed out yesterday, I forget who, maybe Aaron Clary or somebody pointed out yesterday, that this isn't just an ordinary guy who's got caught up in this scenario. This isn't just some bloke in the street. This is like Johnny Depp. This is like internationally famous movie star, one of the most famous movie stars on the planet. Incredibly good-looking guy in his youth, heartthrob for millions and millions and millions of women all over the world. Classically good-looking, high cheekbones, all that good stuff. One of the finest actors in Hollywood, without a doubt. Many different roles. And what seems to be a reasonably... I was actually once at a premiere for something in London. I once attended a premiere for... I think it was one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And Johnny Depp and some of the other cast came in. It was one of those things, they come in, everyone's watching the movie, they sort of come in and say, right... thanks everybody for coming along, hope you enjoy it, and blah blah blah. And Johnny Depp was there, and obviously very artificial sort of situation, but I remember thinking at the time that he seemed to be fairly humble. He seemed quite unassuming. He seemed to be a pretty decent character from the 2 seconds that I saw him, and he spoke to the crowd. He was basically saying, look, thanks everybody for coming along, you pay our wages, kind of thing, appreciate it, and we keep this great tradition of cinema going, and hope you enjoy the movie, kind of thing. And it all seemed very I was quite impressed for a guy of that kind of stature. He seemed to me to be personable. I'm sure my character witness doesn't count for very much, but that was my impression at the time. And so now we are in the midst of this trial, and as I say, it's still ongoing. More will be revealed, but surely this is going to have a knock-on effect for guys, because they're going to be looking at this and they're going to be saying, well, okay, so Johnny Depp, huge film star, heartthrob, incredibly good-looking, telegenic, talented, all the rest of it. Really an alpha male, if you want to put it like that. Somebody who was at the very top of his profession, at the very top of an extremely prominent profession for many years. Very, very powerful in Hollywood and everything. And still, where has he ended up? He's ended up in this situation, having got married to this woman who, it would appear, and as I say, this is still in contention at the moment, so we'll see what the outcome of all of this is, but it would appear has quite significant personality disorders, and somebody who, to boot, it would appear to be fairly unpleasant and to be quite malicious in terms of her intent and what she's done. And you just kind of think, well, Jesus, if it can happen to Johnny Depp, if Johnny Depp can get himself into this situation, then what about the regular guy in the street who doesn't happen to be a world famous, incredibly rich and successful movie star? And that's got to have a knock-on effect, because Aaron Clarey already talks about this, what he calls the post-marriage society, whereby people are dropping out of the marriage market. They're no longer keen or excited to get married. It doesn't seem like it's a good bet for guys anymore, certainly. And I think a case like this is only really going to increase that reticence, because you look at it, as I say, and you kind of think, well, do I really want to end up going through that, or some version of that? Now, one of the things that has been talked about a lot in relation to this is, well, Johnny Depp should have vetted her better before he tied the knot. He should have, done more due diligence, let's say, and figured out what kind of a person she was before he tied the knot. And I think, if I'm correct, they got married fairly, or they sort of made it exclusive, let's say, fairly quickly after they met, as far as I'm aware. So there is that argument to be made, yes. Maybe he should have given it a little bit longer. Maybe he should have spent a bit more time finding out a bit about her. I think that there's some I think her former relationships were problematic, and there's evidence out there regarding that. So maybe he should have looked into those things a little bit more. And so, yeah, I suppose you could say, well, not the blame exactly, but if he'd have done that, maybe he wouldn't be quite in the same position that he is now. Perhaps. But I still say that it's very difficult, really, to vet somebody fully before entering into an intimate relationship with them. Because even if you're with them for a year, even if you're with them for 2 years, for a start, everybody, and this is men and women, everybody is on their best behaviour at the beginning of a relationship, because we all want to show ourselves in the best possible light. I mean, I don't think that's particularly, I don't even think it's manipulative or anything. I'm not saying that somebody's a bad person for being on their best behaviour at the beginning. It's just that, we all kind of want to be liked. We want to show ourselves in the best possible light. And so, we're going to do that. And plus as well, you are going through what is commonly called the honeymoon period, aren't you, in the early stages of that relationship. You guys are crazy about each other. You've got that kind of strong physical connection between the two of you, that chemistry, that sexual magic, or whatever you want to call it. And that tends to cloud everything as well. So even with the best will in the world, you are operating under, almost like under a narcotic, really. You're operating under the narcotic of love, if you like, or of lust. Very difficult, very, very difficult to have a clear-headed sort of analysis of somebody and what that person is really like at that point. But yeah, I mean, people are putting on their best face at the beginning. Okay, so even if you're with this person for, say, a couple of years, whatever, and just let these people go past. Say you are, you're with her for a couple of years, whatever, and you think that you really know the person. I just don't think it's as easy as that. I honestly don't think it's as simple as that. I think it takes a long time to really get to know somebody. And the other thing is this: even if you get to know them incredibly well within that 18-month, 2-year period, you also don't know. There's a couple of factors that you have no control over and are sort of unknowable. And one of those is how they're going to react over time, because people change over time. Is she going to be the same person in 5 years, in 10 years as she was on day one? Or is she going to be changed by circumstance? And the other thing is as well that other things are going to happen. External factors are going to come into play. So there might be illness, there might be legal difficulties, there might be. I mean, there's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of things that can happen. And what you're trying to do at the beginning, when you're doing the vetting, is you're trying to second guess what those things might be. And you're going to kind of try and second guess, well, how is this person going to react to these unknowable variables that may or may not come up at some point in the unforeseeable future? I just, none of us are fortune tellers. None of us are clairvoyants, or, well, I mean, I'm certainly not anyway. So I don't think that this idea of just like, just vet her, bro, really holds a lot of water in the real world. I think that actually a lot of the time what happens is that a guy and a woman get together, she puts on her best face at the beginning, and then slowly over time things start to deteriorate, particularly after they've moved in together. Maybe he's made certain compromises, whatever, and it starts to go downhill. But by then, you're committed. By then, you've got skin in the game. And that's the difficulty, of course, because the longer that you go on with a relationship of any kind, the harder it is to get out. It's been said before that it's much easier to get into a relationship than it is to get out of one again, and that is absolutely true. So I think that this is just going to make guys more and more cautious about commitment, really. And particularly long-term commitments, or particularly sort of marriage commitments, because it does just seem very risky. you know, I mean, people, it's not really my topic, so I'm not going to talk about it here, but people will talk a lot about, you know, the divorce laws and how, you know, tricky the divorce laws are, especially against men. You know, if you get divorced, then you lose half your you know, everything to your ex and all the rest of it. So there's all of that kind of thing to consider. But beyond even that, you've also got this further worry of, well, what if the person that I make this commitment, what if the person I end up committing to somewhere down the line ends up changing? And that seems to be the way this is being reported with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. It seems to be that, you know, at first it was all great. At first it was all very nice. And then quite quickly, as soon as she had her feet under the table, really, she started to change. And I was reading a report this morning from, I think his bodyguard or some employee of Depp's, and he was saying, well, you know, at first, you know, everything was fine. And then he was becoming increasingly unhappy and isolated as she was becoming more feisty and demanding, you know, and that dynamic just continued. And I've read some things suggesting that she was being quite sort of verbally abusive to him. You know, she was calling him fat and ugly and old and all this sort of thing, and pretty unpleasant, really. Mentally abusive. So, and obviously I'm sure, you know, he's not an idiot. I'm sure at the beginning he thought she's a great girl. You know, this is awesome. We get on really well. We have a great time together. You know, why would he have pursued it otherwise, right? But things went sour very, very quickly. So, as I say, I think this is going to strike a chill into the hearts of many guys who are, you know, concerned about this or maybe have experienced something along these lines before. And I think it's just going to put guys off, really, commitment even further than perhaps they already are. And I mean, that's no good for anybody, really. But it's certainly a story. And again, you know, I'll say it for a third time. The verdict is not yet out. She's going to take to the stand, I think, tomorrow or next week. So we're going to be hearing more, and more is going to come to light and everything else. But it certainly seems at the moment that this is a story that really would strike the fear into a lot of guys who are going to think, well, Jesus, you know, if that could happen to Johnny, it's certainly not a route I want to go down. And I think this is one of the reasons why, you know, doing content where you're talking about this kind of itinerant bachelor lifestyle, where maybe you're traveling, focusing more on yourself and dating along the way, but you know, you are your own mental point of origin, let's say. I think that's why there's traction behind this kind of content, because I think as we go forward, there's going to be more and more guys who fall into that sort of category, basically, and guys who are a bit older as well. I mean, a lot of the old dating content was aimed at guys who were young, you know, guys in their 20s, even early 20s, whatever. But increasingly, you've got men who either have never settled down, have never got married for various reasons, but they still want to, you know, have good social lives, still want to enjoy themselves, or you have guys who did get married, who did settle down, and then they've gone through a divorce or they come out the other side. And so again, I mean, the party's not over. They want to continue. They want to travel. They want to earn money. They want to, you know, date, but they want to date on their own terms. And yeah, you know, if you fall into that demographic, then yeah, that's really what we're talking about here on this channel. Anyway, look, that's it for now. All speculation. As I say, the verdict is outstanding, so we're going to find out what happens. I'm sure more will be revealed, but that's just some personal reflections at this point in time. I will leave it there for now. Please do hit subscribe. Please give me a like. Put your comments in the comments box below the video. If you would like to hear more of my thoughts and actionable advice on dating and relationships in general, then get onto my free email newsletter. The link is below. And also do grab my collection of 11 books about dating, the dating marketplace and so on. It's called Renegade Dating Blueprint. And again, the link is below. I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.